Hey, everybody, and welcome to our very first episode of Beyond the Forecast. I'm meteorologist Rob Lindenmuth. I'm joined also by my colleague, meteorologist Kevin Appleby.
Hey.
And we're going to be doing this show together, Kevin. Probably should hit the right camera here. We're getting our bearings straight. It's the first time doing this, but I think we're going to have a lot of fun with it.
For sure. You know, we've been planning this for a bit now. There's, WTEN Plus has been out for a bit, so it's fun to be joining you today, Rob, and for a while going forward.
I think our general idea of this program is to kind of go a little bit further than what we would be able to go on TV. So,
Just a bit.
Whether that be outlooks, recaps, in-depth in the forecast on how we do the forecast. I know a lot of people like to know about that.
Oh, yeah.
One thing I want to mention before we get into it, we're looking a little scruffy. It is No Shave November, so
You might be able to see.
I can see it a little bit.
Yeah.
I can see it just
Yours
a little
looks
bit,
better.
just a little bit. I know this is only a half a week, so you'll probably see the scruffiness over the next couple of weeks. But
sure.
We're raising money for the American Cancer Society. Last year we were able to raise just over $7,500. So this year our goal is $8,000. We're trying to get to that goal. So if you're interested, head over to our Facebook pages. There are links there that will take you right to the News 10 fundraiser. So now that is out of the way, I do want to go ahead and we're going to bring up the graphics here, Kevin, because this is actually kind of cool now. So our first thing, I just kind of want to get everybody on the same page here. What we're talking about today,
Right.
We're going to recap the month of October. Where does it rank? Did you notice the time change? I think you have something on that.
A lot. Yeah, I noticed it for sure. You know, it's really useful for us in the mornings. We'll talk much more about it, but, it's nice to use the cameras an hour earlier.
Yeah, I can't use them in the evening anymore.
Sorry.
We're going to talk about when we think the first snowfall may be, similar to last year. Love this time of year. It's always a little bit of a competition with the weather team. And we might do a little bit of a slightly deeper dive into the winter months. So lots to talk about today. So let's get right into it. As long as this clicker will work, and it did work. There we go. All right, so we're going to talk about the month of October in terms of temperatures, and then I'll give you the podium for the precip. So let's change this camera there. So for the month, you can see it was dominated by a lot of cooler air. Over the last week and a half of the month, really featured colder than average high temperatures. That's all that's being shown here. There were a couple days in the 80s as well. We had 3 days early on in the month, 81, 83, and 82. So it was warm. It was warm to start the month. And then we kind of mellowed things out. It's almost like we went from summer to winter like that. I'm not a fan of it. I don't know about you, Kevin, but I am not a fan.
I still remember that first weekend of October, I put the hot icon on some of my surface maps, and like 7-day forecast, I said hot for October. Was it a record? I don't remember if it was a record.
I can't remember. I was going to say that it was, but
it had to be close.
It was close. The record might have been 85.
I was going to say, you'd be surprised how hot we can get in October. But
yeah,
that was weird. And then we did a complete 180 for much of the rest of the month. Outside of that, like 5-day stretch there in like the late teens, early 20s. It was quite cool to end the month.
Yeah.
So.
We got seasonable too. So I mean, it wasn't anything crazy cold. It was just it was just cool.
With how the month started, if you had told me that we were going to finish like however above average, I probably wouldn't have believed you, given how warm it was.
No, I wouldn't have either. I would have thought we would have been a lot higher than we were. The average high temperature for 2025 in October was 62 and a half. So nothing too crazy. Average low was 42.2. So that when you put them together, the average for the month overall was 52.4. So we only were a degree above average. So compared to last year, if you remember last year, Kevin, very warm, 53.7 degrees, so a little above 2 degrees above average for the month of October 2024. Hard to believe we're almost to 2026.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right. It's only a couple months away. I just remember 2024, the fall as a whole was very dry and very warm, so I'm not surprised.
Exactly. Yeah, and obviously we had the warmth, and you're going to talk a little bit about the wetness now. If I can get the graphic to go, it's kind of weird. I got to like click it immediately and then it'll go. So there's a little bit of a delay. It's a learning curve here, so we'll get it. We'll get it.
Right. First episode. The month of October. It wasn't very active, I'd say, until the very end of the month. That's when we had sort of more daily or more occasional rain chances. If you recall, the end of September, After a mostly dry month, we got over a month's worth of rain in a 3-day stretch.
Yeah.
So we started out October quite dry, and then we got quite a good soaking that first full week there right in the middle. And then another bout of rain, about a half an inch or so, just less than that, early during the second full week. And then another little break, which is nice. And then it got more active. And then we finished off the month, like 30th into Halloween, with over 2 inches of rain. So that really tipped the scale and had us finish the month with above normal precipitation. By the way, Rob, real quick, I know that there's an average of 1/10 of an inch of snow in October.
Yes, that is the first month that we start to see an average snowfall. So we didn't see it this year.
Nope.
We didn't get it this year.
Not
I
even
don't think we got it
flake.
last year either.
I don't believe so. It was
Too warm.
Yeah.
It was so warm last year. And I think you kind of summed this up perfectly. I think I heard you say, not just now, but maybe earlier in the week, we got bursts of rain. Like it wasn't spread out. It was, big bursts of rain. You could see the 30th and the 31st, case in point there, both days seeing an inch or more of rain. So
yeah, even going back to the end of September, the rainfall rates we've had lately have been off the charts. Like we've been getting like half an inch an hour quite commonly. So we just haven't had these like unsettled days until the very end of the month.
Yeah, until the end. But at least it cleared out in time for trick-or-treaters.
Yes.
That was the important part, right?
For sure. And, for the year, we finished with, or for the month, I should say, 2025, October, 4.9 inches of all rain, which is a little more than an inch above the long-term normal here in Albany. Last year, just 1.4 inches of rain, and that's nearly 2.5 inches below normal. So quite a bit better there. If you recall, last October, lots of, as the leaves started falling, red flag warnings, just a lot of fire risk. And fortunately, it looks like we avoided that this year with the above average October rain.
It almost seemed like in September that we were going to go into that pattern once again, right? And then out of nowhere, it seemed like the pattern just kind of switched. As soon as we were all talking about the drought.
Yeah, that's how it goes. That's how it goes, but it was an issue for a while.
Yes,
definitely.
Yes. And then at least we haven't had that for the fall month so far with all the dry leaves. Well, they're not really dry, but with all the leaves on the ground. So I guess now the next thing that we're going to talk about is what happened over the weekend.
Oh yeah.
I think you know a little bit about that.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is daylight saving time coming to an end?
Yes.
Okay.
We're back in standard time now, which is weird because we're in standard time for way less time than daylight time.
Yeah.
So is this really the standard?
No, not anymore. I don't think it is anymore. But you have a little kind of thing that you put together to talk a little about that. So we'll go to that now.
Sure. Well, it's that time of the year once again. The earlier sunsets are upon us as we revert back to standard time. The time was pushed back 1 hour early Sunday morning, moving the sunrise to 6:30 as opposed to 7:30. That's great, but of course the sunset moved up to 4:46 as opposed to 5:46. Of course, less than ideal. The fact of the matter is we, of course, are heading towards the shortest days of the year, or the days with the least amount of daylight, technically speaking. We spend 125 days in standard time, 85 of which feature less than 10 hours of total daylight starting on November 9th. As we get closer to the end of our run in standard time, the amount of daylight starts to more quickly increase into early March, meaning that the longest day we have during our period in standard time, which is the day before we go back to daylight time in the spring, 11 hours and about 30 minutes. There's just not much daylight to offer in the wintertime. And I'm not here to say that there's a perfect solution to dealing with that, but here are some facts for our area if we were to stay in standard time, which we are now currently in for the entire year, even in the summer. The latest sunrise in standard time would actually be earlier than our sunrise was just before the time change last weekend, 7:25. That would mean 0 sunrises after 8 a.m. in our region. The earliest sunset, which we see in the wintertime, 4:21, and we have 95 sunsets prior to 5 p.m. Now, 95 is a lot, so naturally and rightfully so, the question gets asked, what if we stayed in daylight time, where we just were year-round? Well, it would mean our darker mornings would continue to just get darker. The latest sunrise would be 8:25 in the morning, with 75 sunrises at or after 8 a.m. The earliest sunset would be 5:21, which of course would be nicer, and it would be no sunsets, of course, in the 4 o'clock hour. But ask yourself this, would we be ready for 2.5 months of sunrises at 8 a.m. or later? Well, before we discuss what staying in daylight time year-round would look like for the entire country, a few quick notes on what staying in our time zones, each of those individual time zones, does to our longer days of the year in the summertime. In standard time, our latest sunset would bump up to 7:37. Of course, 0 sunsets in the 8 o'clock hour. 100 sunsets would still be 7 p.m. or later. With daylight time, the latest sunset is 8:37. 100 sunsets are 8 p.m. or later, and 188 are 7 p.m. or later, so just about half the year. In the mornings, standard time would mean our earliest sunrise would bump back to 4:16. 83 sunrises would be 5 a.m. or earlier, and 204 of our sunrises would be 6 a.m. or earlier. Again, if we stayed in the current time that we're in year-round. With daylight time, like what we normally have in the summertime, the earliest sunrise is, of course, 5:16, meaning 0 sunrises occur in the 4 o'clock hour, and 83 sunrises occur at 6 a.m. or earlier. That's all for the Albany area, but what about the country as a whole? Of course, the argument for going to standard time in the first place in the wintertime is to avoid the very late sunrises. With the change, this is a map of the country, and the areas shaded in blue are parts of the country that still have sunrises after 8 o'clock in the morning with the conversion to standard time. If we were to stay in if we were to stay in daylight time year-round, this is a map of the country who would experience at least one sunrise 8 a.m. or later. Pretty much all of the country, minus a few exceptions in the eastern and southeastern edges of the time zones. Let's explore this further. The latest sunrises, of course, if we stayed in daylight time, or how much of a gap a map of the country would experience at least one sunrise at 8:30 a.m. or later. It's still about half the country. And keep in mind, with the conversion to standard time, 7:30 is a map of the country that experiences sunsets at the latest just after 7:30. So again, I'm talking about a crucial hour during getting ready for school, getting ready for work. By the way, if we were to stay on daylight time, this is a map of the area of the country that would experience a sunrise at 9 a.m. or later. There's still a good chunk of the country, northwestern corners of time zones, and as you get up closer to the Canadian border, some of those regions even have a sunrise if they stayed in daylight time after 9:30 in the morning. So that is kind of crazy to even comprehend. Now, I'm not here to offer the perfect solution. The fact of the matter is, simply tough to manage 9 hours of daylight for about a month. So maybe the time change ends up being the perfect solution or the most appropriate solution. I don't know. Either way, it's kind of tough to navigate the decrease in daylight.
Well, I think you got an inkling of my stance towards the end of that. I mean, the fact of the matter is the days this time of year are just incredibly short.
Yes.
And either way, we're going to experience darkness during one of the busier parts of the day. Now, the question becomes, would you rather that be in the morning or would you rather that be during the evening when it is right now?
I mean, you know my stance. I hate leaving work and it's literally feeling like the middle of the night. That first weekend when you do the time change, you're like, okay, what time is it? And you look and it's like it's only 5:30 in the evening. I did write a couple notes here. Latest sunset of 7:37. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I like the late summer sunsets.
So that's if we were to stay on standard time, what we're in right now, year round. The latest in the summertime, the sunset would be 7:37.
Nope.
And of course, on top of that, your sunrise would be 4:16 in the morning. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't like that.
That's so early. I mean,
don't like that.
you're telling me Matt would get on the air at 4:30 and there'd already be sun? And then, of course, the contrary. I understand the winter, if we stayed in daylight time, 5:21 would be the earliest sunset. That sounds nice, and then you're going to school in the dark.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't like the 8 a.m. sunrises. I am a very much, I need daylight to wake up to. So with the time change, it's easier for me to be waking up again in the morning. I mean, I don't think you wake up to daylight, but sorry.
Not usually, Rob.
I know your schedule doesn't really accompany that. So
I do like the earlier sunsets selfishly because it's so much easier to go to sleep.
Yes.
But I understand that I am not a representative of society here.
All right, we're going to take our first break, but stay tuned because we're going to be talking about some snow in the next coming block, and we're going to be talking a little bit ahead to maybe what a winter will look like this coming winter. Stand by. and welcome back to Beyond the Forecast. Well, we just talked a little bit about what this year kind of represents. Obviously, this time of year, I should say. Darker evenings, cold,
winter.
We're going to talk a little bit about it. So, Kevin, I know the average first snowfall for the area, not too far away. I know we usually average here in the Hudson Valley, at least the capital region anyways, late November. Only a couple weeks.
That's really soon. I mean, that's going to start, you're going to start getting those model runs, especially in like the day 7 to 14 range that output snow. Like it's nothing.
And they always do that, right? They're always posted all over the place like, hey, look at this. We're going to see this much snow in 3 weeks. Never happens. Never happens. So this leads us to our snowfall guesses for this year. We are unveiling that now. So what did you guess while I try to get the graphic to go to it?
I believe so last year I went way too late. I think I was like mid-December. This year I decided to correct a little bit. December 3rd is my final answer. And it looks like, based on these numbers, we're all within like a week.
Yeah, we are pretty close to that.
Wow.
I went with November 30th. I wanted to go with November 29th. What I usually do is I always ask you guys first so that there's no doubles.
Yeah.
So I asked everybody, and I asked Alyssa, and she's like, let's go with November 29th. And I'm like, okay, I need to change my day now. So
it's like the Price is Right.
Exactly.
Except it's not. Can I just say one thing about this? Because I remember when I won the first year, I was like a day off. I think I had like the 26th. Caparizzo had the 30th, and it was the 27th. And I had a bunch of people saying that Cap won because it was like Price is Right.
Because it was past. But in theory,
no,
you were closest.
That's right. I mean, here's my caveat. Let's just say I forecast 61 and you forecast 65, and the temperature's 62.
Who's closest?
I mean, I think I gave you a better indication. Now, that's not how we operate, Rob.
But really, when you do a forecast, if you're forecasting 65 and you fall short, people are going to remember that.
Yeah.
If you forecast 65 and say it ends up being 69, people are a little more forgiving.
I have found that out.
So
especially when you're going towards those like benchmark numbers, like you're calling for the first 70-degree day of the season.
Exactly. Yeah.
I digress.
If we fall short, people are gonna be like, you said it was going to be. So we try our best.
If we said it was going to be, Rob, we deserve it.
Well, now we're going to go into the November outlook. So I think I'm going to bring this up. I'll talk about temperatures. You can talk about the precip. How's that? Because I think it'll be easier for people to see the graphic just a little bit bigger. So this is from the Climate Prediction Center. So, kind of take it with a grain of salt. Sometimes they're good. Sometimes they're not so good. I don't fully hate the way this looks. Kind of near average. We're in that cool period now.
Yeah.
We will be in that cool period, especially as we get into next week. But looking at some of the longer range guidance, Kevin, it does look likely that maybe we'll see a little bit of a warm up again by the second, or I guess by the third week of November, maybe just before Thanksgiving. So I don't fully hate this. The average high temperature for the month of November in Albany, just shy of 50 degrees, 49.3. So that's not awfully cold. Average low, 31.6. And when you average them together, it's just over 40 degrees. So looking at this, you would expect to be around 40 degrees for the month of November. I don't see any reason to say it's going to be much warmer or much cooler. Unfortunately, it always depends on how warm are those warm-ups or how cold are those cool-downs. So those will kind of sway it.
That first real big cool-down looks very cold. I mean,
yes.
I'm looking at
You're going to notice it next week, right?
Look at the forecast for early next week. I'm like, November or December?
It's going to feel like December.
Yeah.
And then if you got any wind in there too. So
it looks like
get ready for it.
Yeah.
Get ready for it. On to the precip, if I can get it there, and then I'll bring you up. There we go. What is this showing for us, Kevin?
Well, it does have a signal of above average precipitation for the month of November for especially points north of Albany. And honestly, just looking at this map from the Climate Prediction Center right away, it just looks like they're banking on some lake effect set up here. And of course, we've seen that transpire at times late October and especially now into early November. And so I really can't find a reason to disagree with the repeated shots of cold air. You always get that flow off the Great Lakes, and they're just ready to produce showers, even some snowfall in the high terrain, of course, in November. So I don't necessarily disagree. I think if there was a dry signal over us, I'd be like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah, what are we missing here?
Here's the thing. I mean, yes, it's leaning above average in terms of precipitation. It's not the strongest signal. Like you see a much stronger signal for below average precip in the Southwest. Basically, they're just factoring in. They think there's going to be uptick in disturbances and the after. You get these disturbances that drop precipitation, and then behind it, the wind coming off the Great Lakes drops additional precipitation.
That's where you get the lake effect. Yeah, exactly. And this isn't, I don't think this is necessarily saying for snow either.
Yes.
It's just giving you that idea that.
For what it's worth, November, 2.6 inches of snow on average. So it's not a ton, but as we know, it can happen just like Thanksgiving last year.
Yeah, what was it, just shy of 4 inches?
I believe so.
I think so. And
I gotta be honest.
That was one of our biggest storms all season last year,
winter
which was
crazy. The winter of 1 to 3.
It was cold.
That's what it was.
It was cold. Yeah. But we didn't have a lot of
dry.
snow. All right, let's get rocking and rolling here. We're going to talk a little bit about the winter outlook. Just running a little short on time, so we're going to try to give you this with a little bit of a detailed look. So I'll talk about this, and then we'll kind of split up the outlooks. How's that? So here's what a typical winter in Albany will feature. Obviously, we see those temperatures really drop off December and more so into January. January is our coldest month of the year. We average high temperatures just around freezing, average low temperatures in the mid-teens. Also, our highest snowfall month with 15.6 inches of snow on average for the month of January in Albany. Outside of Albany, we all know, is usually a little bit more than that. So when you add it all together, I think what did we figure out? Just over 40 inches of snow for winter itself, but also you have to add in any snow in November and in March, which we know March can be a pretty big snow month. March here in the Northeast.
March is like all or nothing. It feels like every year. I don't
Even
think
April sometimes.
I don't think our past March had much in the way of snow, but
I don't think so. I think when winter ended last year, it was ended like pretty abruptly.
Okay, it's done. Yeah, I got to tell you that January is tough. It's dark. Temperatures are so cold. February, you start to see it. The days get a little longer. And
but you can also have some pretty big storms in February too. I think that's you're starting to see the warming. Yeah. The seasons are starting to battle again. January. I always see January as a dry month, but I guess. I put these numbers together. I guess it's not.
Well, most of the precip in January likely falls as snow or very borderline
most
rain.
of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you have one of those warm nose storms.
What happens?
All right. So in terms of the seasonal outlook, I want to bring this up just a little bit bigger. Because this is a very La Nina look across the lower 48. And actually, if you like snow, I think we're in a pretty good position. Kevin and I were talking about this. Yes, we're leaning above average, especially Albany South and East, but notice where it's below average temperature-wise, northern tier of the country, into the Great Lakes. We're going to be in that battle zone area, and I do think this is going to be a very favorable track for storms to kind of come up out of the Gulf, reemerge onto the Mid-Atlantic, strengthen into the Northeast. Very similar to last year. Last year we missed a lot because they were suppressed to the south because that cold air was so strong. So does the cold air win out again, or do the storms win out this year? I guess that's the $1 million question this year, Kevin.
Yeah, that'll be the question 3 days before the storm.
Yeah, there's no clarity. There's just no clarity. So
this is certainly encouraging, as you mentioned. It doesn't guarantee anything, but certainly we're not looking at a signal in the long range that's like, oh, it's going to be more, Great
very
Lakes
warm.
cutters.
Exactly.
Those are that's when you hit like 50 and it starts raining. Yep. It's like, come on.
Yeah, then
really?
maybe a little bit of back on snow.
Yeah.
Those of you that are snow lovers. Precip wise, Kevin, you take it away on this one.
Yeah, for sure. So not a big signal for the Northeast. We find ourselves wedged between a stronger signal of a more active pattern to the west, Great Lakes, and even the Pacific Northwest, as a matter of fact. And certainly a better look in terms of outlook for rain and snow during the winter months than what they have down south. Now, of course, they're not going to get much snow down there, but in terms of precipitation themselves, the Southeast, pretty strong signal, especially in this range, for below precipitation, and that really extends across the southern tier of the country. So, again, not a big, strong signal there. They're just looking, the Climate Prediction Center more so sees a better signal for a more active pattern to our north and west and a drier pattern to our south and east. It's not that bad to be in the middle, though.
No, and I'm sure the folks on the Gulf Coast don't want to have the snow like they did. That was last year, right?
Yeah.
Right up to the Gulf waters.
I think New Orleans had a bigger storm than we did. So.
Yeah, 6-7 inches of snow. I'm like, where's that here?
Nope. Not the past 2 years, really.
No, it's been so quiet. It's been so quiet. Well, that's going to take us to our next break. We'll have a little bit more for you when we return. And welcome back to Beyond the Forecast. We're going to kind of wrap things up here, Kevin. And to do that, I think we're going to talk a little bit about what we're expecting with this show. I'm glad that you've agreed to kind of be my co-host here, because talking about the weather alone, I can do it all day long.
Oh, I could.
It's a little bit easier to kind of banter with somebody else. You have somebody else to kind of give a little bit of input. So we want all of you at home to be able to join in on this discussion. So if you have any weather questions or something cool to share, you can email me or Kevin. Our email addresses are right there. You may be featured in a future episode. We'll name drop. We're not opposed to doing that.
Let's do it.
Yeah, and this goes for anything. If you have a cool picture of the Northern Lights, a full moon, waves, anything, really, we'll talk about it. We want this show to be fun. We want it to be engaging. And we hope you at home will all follow along and play along with us.
It's going to be a lot of fun going towards the holidays. We'll expand on like weather history with the holidays and whatnot. And honestly, the sky's the limit with what we can do.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, we could pretty much do anything we want with this. So hopefully it's going to be fun, and hopefully you'll stick around for the long term. And with that, we'll see you on Beyond the Forecast next week. Thanks for joining.